Now, I want you to imagine a person that is constantly outside in the streets, will do practically anything to get rich, and is constantly talking a big game. With the details given, you think I'm talking about the everyday rapper. And if you thought that, well, then you're right. But who I'm also referring to is Eddy, from the cartoon show Ed, Edd and Eddy. But we'll get back to Eddy specifically later. Ed, Edd and Eddy, from what I've noticed throughout the years, has been getting a lot of recognition from hip hop culture. And I don't know about you, but that's a pretty big deal. Ultimately, in this video, we're going to be exploring some of the references that rap has made towards Ed, Edd and Eddy and the cultural impact that the show has had on hip hop. Now, one of the first instances that I remember in which hip hop referenced Ed, Edd and Eddy was in a song called Blessings by Big Sean. Now, if I'm being honest, I don't remember too much about the song, but I do remember these set of lyrics here. Man, it wasn't luck, it was destined. I done lost homies who been with me since Ed and Eddy, who flip like confetti. Now, as a kid, I do remember being in the car listening to the song, and while I don't remember all the lyrics, once I heard him say those bars, I was like, oh, Big Sean just referenced Ed and Eddy. Like, that was really cool. Now, you gotta imagine this song came out around 2015, so I was still watching cartoons on a regular basis. So to hear the names Ed and Eddy on a mainstream radio station, it felt like the show had some reach to it. Now, after that, some time would pass and, I'd go on through my high school years and nothing crazy. But then all of a sudden, a rapper by the name of JID released a music video titled, and I quote, Ed, Edd and Eddy. Now, if you thought Big Sean had referenced the show in a cool way, JID took it to a whole nother level. The entire music video was animated in Ed and Eddy's likeness, with JID telling a story about some of his antics. Of course, with some of those antics I can't show on YouTube, being that his antics are in the boundaries of rap, but this music video has garnered over 25 million views as of the time of this video, which is also the third most popular video on his channel. Now, I'll be honest, I never really gave myself a chance to check out the video, but once I finally sat down to watch it for research purposes, it really showed me just how much reach Ed and Eddy had really made in rap culture. Soon after, I would start to see several rappers begin to make their mixtapes and albums in Ed and Eddy's likeness. So it became clear as day to me that Ed and Eddy had cemented itself with true cultural relevancy. So once I started to see and notice all of the rap bars, music videos, and mixtapes, I finally decided to ask the biggest question of all. How did Ed, Edd and Eddy influence rap? It had to be more than just things like the animation, the music, the comedy. It had to go much deeper than just a surface level answer. The question got to me so much that I tried to sleep on it and I really couldn't. This video is brought to you by Manta Sleep. Now, one thing about me, guys, is that I love naps, but being that my naps are during the day, I'm constantly having to deal with distractions. Distractions like bright sunlight hitting my room, the shameful sight of a popcorn ceiling, and that freaking smoke alarm outside of my room. Basically, napping feels like a chore. But ever since I started using Manta Sleep, that all changed. Manta Sleep specializes in sleep masks that are super comfortable, adjustable, and lightweight. With its premium design and feel, the sleep mask provides true blackout vision and zero eye pressure, completely doing away with those visual distractions. And to handle my smoke alarm issues, I use the Manta Sleep white noise machine to help drown out any outside noises. With the press of a button, the white noise machine provides rich and soothing sounds like white, rain, ocean, and fan noises. When you combine the Manta Sleep Mask with the white noise machine, it will make your sleep feel like an absolute privilege. Disclaimer, Manta Sleep will not make your soul leave your body. Please make sure you check out the Manta Sleep link down in the description and make sure you use code Murrayvation to get 10% off your purchase. A huge thank you to Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video. But once I was finally able to sleep on it, thanks to Manta Sleep, I was then able to lay out all the chips on the table. The reason why Ed and Eddy has so much influence in rap is because the Eds represent some of the biggest traits that rappers need to have to make it big in the rap game, with one of the biggest traits being hustle. Hustle and rap go hand in hand, whether it's by making music, being a producer, writing songs, or managing other artists. Whatever you need to do to make a profit. Because how rap culture sees it, if you're not making dollars, brother, you're not making sense. The person you can thank for how much hustle the Eds collectively have is none other than the money man himself, Eddy. Eddy is a certified hustler. No matter the person, time, or place, Eddy is constantly finding ways to get rich. His love for money is so great that he even concocted what he deemed his greatest scam yet, which, if you guessed it, ended in a complete catastrophe. So much so that it left the entire cul-de-sac severely traumatized from it. But that's the thing about hustle, man. Some people might get burned along the way. You can basically say that Eddy lives by the motto, get rich or die trying, which ironically enough is an album named by 50 Cent. But you never really see Eddy's scams as a failure on the surface level based on how big of a game he talks. He could make you think that Jimmy was the next big thing in sumo wrestling. Paper plates, dirt, and flowers were gourmet Mexican cuisine. Or that a city made completely out of cardboard was a state-of-the-art metropolis. I mean, just look how Eddy has talked about his big brother all throughout the show.
In your dreams? My brother told me that chicks are wowed by only one thing, cash. Ain't she a beaut? My brother said I could have it when I turned 14. And that schlep don't know where babies come from. But I do. It's a secret, you know. Yep, my brother told me.
With how big of a game Eddy was talking, he had me thinking this Joker was a Dark Souls final boss. Eddy talks a big game because he knows exactly what rappers know, which is talk your ish. Eddy talking a big game is exactly what rappers do to accentuate themselves and their brand. I got 10 bathrooms, I can ish all day. So a ball so hard mothers wanna find me. But first, gotta find me. What's 50 grand to a mother like me? Can you please remind me? Last name ever, first name greatest. Like a sprained ankle, boy, ain't nothing to play with. Just like rappers, Eddy will talk a big game, and in some cases, he'll even fake it till he makes it, which also kind of is an unwritten rule in rap. Other than hustle, the next trait is swag. Eddy always had a sense of swag to him. From the intro alone, you can tell he always saw himself as the top dog, the main man if you will. Everything from the way he dresses, the setup of his room, and his overall mannerisms. Swag is a mandatory requirement to the overall image of a rapper. For most, if you don't look like the top dog, then you're probably not going to be treated like it. This is why in a lot of the music videos, rappers are constantly wearing the most expensive of clothes, driving the fastest of cars, living in the biggest of houses. It's all in the name of swag, and Eddy very much knows that. But now that I think about it, Eddy means so much more than the traits that hip hop values. If you ask me, he actually represents a few big artists himself. With Eddy's mindset to make money, ability to create things, and leadership mentality, he has this entrepreneurial mindset about him that reminds me a lot of someone like a Jay-Z, a 50 Cent, a Kanye West, if you will. These are artists who have made billions and have turned their brands into larger than life empires. Now yes, although Eddy isn't a billionaire, you can tell by the way he carries himself, he thinks he's one. You can look at Eddy as basically the ultimate businessman when it comes to hip hop. Now I know I've been essentially glazing Eddy for the majority of this video, but don't get it twisted. He's not alone. Take a character like Double D. He's logical, gadget savvy, and does everything with a calculated precision. Heck, if he were a rapper within the show, he'd be someone of a lyrical perfectionist. But it's funny though, because with the traits and appearance that Double D has, he's oftentimes underestimated. People think he's able to be punked, seen as a non-threat. Some people even see Double D as the weakest link out of all the Eds. While Double D may not be the most physically intimidating, make no mistake about it, Double D is the coldest when it comes to hitting those books. So much so that I fancy him to a Kendrick Lamar or an Eminem. Past the appearance, Double D is a cerebral assassin that no one is outsmarting, just like how no one is out-rapping Kendrick or M. But if you didn't know this already, Double D actually is musically talented, so I'm not too far off the mark. So that now leaves us with Ed. Ed, simply put, is unpredictable, so tying him to a hip-hop artist I knew was going to be an adventure. I mean, let's put it all out there with Ed. Ed is a person that says some of the most bizarre things.
Because I'm a brother, and Eddy's brother is a brother, and Eddy is a brother to Eddy's brother as a brother I am.
He's a character that nobody can seem to figure out, and he likes to cover himself in an oily substance. Shoot, if you ask me, Ed is none other than Diddy.
My fantasy come true!
Now, I'm just playing. I'm just messing around with y'all, all right? Just playing around. Or am I? All jokes aside, because Ed is unpredictable, unfiltered, and uncontrollable, do not misconstrue my words when I say that Ed is very much old, dirty bastard. Now, I'm sure like a lot of you, the Wu-Tang Clan is well before my time. Residing from New York City, the Wu-Tang Clan rose to prominence within the hip-hop industry in the early 90s and is considered one of the most influential hip-hop groups to ever exist. Thanks to their gritty and hardcore style, many people believe they revitalized hip-hop in the East Coast territories. But one of Wu-Tang Clan's biggest strengths was their wide number of members that all brought their own traits and styles to the music. RZA was the mastermind and chief producer of the group. He's also credited for their movie-sampled gritty sounds that have become a signature piece in their songs. GZA, and yes, that's how it's pronounced, is known as the genius and oldest member of the group. While rap lyrics are known for being punchy and direct, GZA's bars were metaphor-heavy with a calm and steady delivery. Other well-known members included Method Man, Ghostface Killah, and Raekwon, with at one point a total number of 10 members. That's some NWO Bullet Club type junk right there. But arguably the most popular and infamous member was Old Dirty Bastard. Given the name, you can already see where this man's head was. ODB had an erratic, awkward flow to him that really brought an unpredictable nature to his music. While everyone else rapped on beat, he rapped off beat while also incorporating singing and comedy into his music. ODB didn't thrive on being organized and polished. He thrived off of uncontrolled chaos. Like, bro, who ties up a clown? Like, are y'all seeing this right now? Mind you, he was featured in a song with Mariah Carey, right? So they kind of had this Beauty and the Beast dynamic going. It's actually kind of funny now because now that I just described to you guys the members of Wu-Tang Clan, you can almost associate them and their members with Ed and Eddy. So I've just made that connection as I was filming this. When I see ODB and all that he brings to the table, I can't help but see all of the similarities between him and Ed, because I believe Ed captures that same chaotic nature to a T, if not more. If you don't believe me, allow me to educate you. Ed once upon a time devoured his whole mattress because a walkie-talkie told him to. Ed once upon a time went full-blown xenomorph, kidnapped all the kids of the cul-de-sac and harvested them all in chewed up chunky puffs. Ed once upon a time turned Eddy into a baseball bat, yelled at his little sister, and went on a complete rampage through the cul-de-sac. But get this, it was all because he had a pebble in his shoe. Like, imagine a character like Eren Yeager triggering the rumbling because he had a pebble in his shoe. Like, Ed, did you really just eat a metal slide like it was a fruit roll-up all because of a pebble?
You bet your sweet bippy I did.
Hey guys, real quick, I just want to say huge shout out to my Murray members. Thank you so much for your support. And also, for whatever it's worth, Azula also would like to give you hugs and kisses for your support as well. Azula, go kiss the Murray members. I can see why a rap group like the Migos quoted Ed and Eddy in their song, Look at My Dab. Touch down on your pack and run it like Barry. Migo like Ed and Eddy. You mad about your homeboy that's Patty. The idea of a couple of guys making it out the mud together is something that Eds know all too well, and ultimately what rap represents: unbreakable loyalty. Hip-hop has always been known for its intense competition amongst artists, being that they all are competing for things like attention, record deals, and respect. Being that hip-hop is naturally competitive, it's also led to many rap beefs that have resulted in diss tracks, fights, and careers that have declined in the process. That same competition that has sparked feuds and these spectacles is the same competition that has also sparked disloyalty. Now, disloyalty is not a theme that is unique to hip-hop, but it's the way in which hip-hop explores the theme that makes it so fascinating. Things like artists disputing against their record labels over money, royalties, and contract deals. Younger artists disrespecting older ones that are far more experienced than them. And even artists turning against each other that were once friends. These are all symptoms of a disloyal relationship, but honestly, it's the biggest theme that ties the Eds together in regards to hip-hop. If you don't already know, Ed and Eddy have been friends since they were babies, so their loyalty towards each other runs deep. But when you really look at it, the cul-de-sac consists of kids whose friendships are amongst each other, excluding the Eds. So imagine, you have the kids of the cul-de-sac And then you have the Ed boys. Far two different groups. But yes, there are moments where the Eds are friendly with characters like Rolf and Jimmy, of course, but for the most part, the Eds are only loyal to each other. But it kind of makes you think, what would the Eds be without each other? What if that loyalty was broken? Now, these questions are explored in the movie finale, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Big Picture Show. In the movie, a fight breaks out between Double D and Eddy, in which Ed watches in disbelief. Tears run down his face as he realizes that this could realistically be the end of a lifetime friendship. Now, I know in this video I've tied most of the traits that hip hop embraces with Eddy, but I love how in this scene, not only do we get a side of Eddy that we've never seen before, but also a side of Eddy that I think hip hop should embrace more of because of how relatable the feeling is. Eddy seemingly does away with this braggadocious, cool kid persona and appears vulnerable. Here he's tearful, beaten, and seems to regret ever putting his friends in a situation where the whole cul-de-sac hates them. All of these factors result in Eddy coming to a huge realization. The scam was a failure and it was because of him, period. But just when it seems like the Eds are done for, Double D sees this vulnerability, has a change of heart, and decides to stay. This is the type of loyalty that Ed and Eddy showcases that I think the Migos and all of hip hop resonates the most with. No matter the disagreements or how ugly things might get, at the end of the day, all you got are each other. Now, mind you, this wouldn't be the first or last time that a cartoon would have such an immense impact on the rap community. I can't tell you how many times growing up as a kid going to retail stores and seeing so many graphic tees of Bugs Bunny dressed up like one of the homies in the streets of New York, or SpongeBob dressed up as a mafia boss with a wad of cash and gold teeth. Heck, what about all those YouTube videos that were played back in the day? Crank that SpongeBob, crank that Spider-Man, crank that Yoshi. Yes, while some of those aren't cartoons, you get my point. A lot like those examples, Ed, and Eddy doesn't need to look like the Boondocks to impact the rap and or black community. It just needs to have elements to it that people can find value in. In this case, you can say that hip hop found a great sense of hustle, swag, and unbreakable loyalty through the Eds. And as you can see on my wall back here, as a cartoon fan, that's pretty cool. But other than Eddy, a character like Ed is far more layered than you think. Check this video out to see all the different sides of Ed that you probably forgot about.